Hello, welcome to the Kitchen Spy. My name is Kate and this is a recipe for spinach and red lentil dal. I'm serving it with salmon, but it's actually a really flexible recipe that lends itself well to go in with Indian food as a side dish or even on its own, perhaps served with some flatbread or pita bread or whatever. It's a really delicious dish, whichever way you choose to serve it. So if this is the first recipe of mine that you've seen, then I hope you enjoy it. And if you're a returning viewer, then I hope you enjoy it too. And thank you so much for your continued support. It's really very important to me and means the world. If you aren't already subscribed, perhaps you could consider subscribing if you wanted to, and obviously hit the notification bell, and then you'll know when I put up a new video. Anyway, let's crack on with this recipe. As you can see, there aren't many ingredients at all, so it's quite a simple recipe to do and pretty much apart from the spinach in your store cupboard really. So I've got 3 cloves of garlic, 1 teaspoon of coriander, 1 teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of hot chili powder and half a teaspoon of turmeric. Then I've got the lentils. This is 130 grams of lentils, and that's enough for 2 people as a main course, but you can double this recipe easily. Then I've got a medium onion which comes in at around 70 grams, and as you can see I've chopped it very finely. And then we've got the spinach, and this is a 240-gram bag of baby spinach that's been rinsed and drained. And here I've got about a pint of chicken stock. I've made mine with Knorr stock cubes. Now I'm actually going to be serving this with salmon. So here's the salmon that I'll be serving it with. So I am doing 3 pieces because I'm serving 2 people. My husband will have 2 and I'll just have 1 of the fillets. So over in the pan, I'm just going to add some oil. I'm using spray oil, but if you want to just use olive oil or any oil you want to, that's absolutely fine. I used to use Fry Light, but I stopped using it because I felt like it was damaging my pans. Anyway, so I've got the 3 salmon fillets here and I've just seasoned them lightly with salt and black pepper. And I'm just going to pop those in the pan until they get a nice kind of golden brown. We certainly don't want them to be cooked all the way through, and they don't even need to be really brown, but just a pale golden brown, because I'm going to finish off the cooking of them in the oven. But I like this step because it just makes the salmon look more attractive when you serve it. Once the salmon fillets are all nicely browned, then place them on a tray. Line this tray with foil because it just makes it easier. It saves damaging any of your baking trays, but also saves on washing up. So I'm cooking 3 fillets here, as you can see. My fillet, which is the one on the end, is 128 grams, and because I'm counting my calories, I want to know which one that is. So what I do is I just tear the foil at one end of the tray where my fillet is, and I know that's mine. Then over at the pan, we need to start cooking the dal. So first of all, I'm just adding a few more sprays of oil, and I'm also adding the onions first of all. And for this step, as in for so many of my recipes, it's definitely worth taking time over preparing the onions so that they get to be a nice kind of golden brown, and that kind of starts the flavour base of the dal off really nicely. Once we've got there, and you can see that this is quite dry because I've only used a small amount of oil, but I'm happy with that. If you want to use more oil, that's perfectly fine and completely up to you. I'm adding the garlic now, just moving that around the pan, not frying it for too long really before we start to add the other ingredients. And the next thing I'm going to add is the spices. So this is the cumin, the coriander, the chilli and the turmeric. I'm just putting those into the pan. The pan looks massive at this point, I can see that, but there is a reason for that. This recipe kind of lends itself really to be done in a wide based flat pan. I'm finding here, as you can see, that this this is quite dry because I haven't got too much oil, so I'm just going to add a splash of water, and that will just help those spices start to cook through and taste less raw. Now, a few people have kind of said that I don't use very much oil, and that's very true and very deliberate. Oil is about 123 calories for a tablespoon, so I would just rather use spray oil at 1 or 2 calories a spray, and then make sure that I've got lots of other flavors in which actually compensate for the lack of oil. Once the spices are all cooked through onto the onions and you're getting some really lovely aromas from the pan, we need to start adding the rest of the ingredients, and we're going to start off by adding the lentils. So these lentils, as I said earlier, had been rinsed and drained, and I'm just going to put those into the pan now. Once the lentils are into the pan, we need to make sure that they're mixed thoroughly with the onions and the spices. And I guess this recipe is a little bit like a risotto in that we put the dry ingredients into the pan and the flavour ingredients, and then we start to mix them around, and then we start to add the stock quite slowly so that it's absorbed in between each addition of stock. So I'm going to add the stock now. I'm going to add a small amount of the chicken stock. You could use vegetable stock for this if you wanted to, making this a vegetarian or even vegan dish, I guess. But obviously I'm not here. But all we need to do is make sure that whatever liquid you're adding is some kind of flavour, not just water. So when that has been absorbed, I'm just going to add some more liquid, and I'm just going to keep doing that until the lentils are cooked. It probably takes about 20 minutes with various splashes of stock. You might not use all your stock, or you might need some more. It differs pretty much every time you do it, but as long as you end up with a kind of porridgey-like consistency, then that's absolutely fine. So I'm just speeding this up because none of us need to look at lentils absorbing chicken stock. We've got far more important things to do with our lives than that. So I'm speeding that up, and then when it gets to the point where we think that's done, I'm just adding the last bit of stock here. Then we can add the final ingredient, which would be the spinach. So this is looking really good now. I'm just going to leave that to bubble for a few moments. Now I think that's ready, but I'm just going to do a little test. So I'm picking up a small amount of the dal. I'm just squashing it down. It is squidgy, and I'm just going to taste that to make sure that the lentils aren't too hard. But I like my lentils with a little bit of texture, not quite mush, because the longer you cook it, the mushier they get. And you can see there, as you move your spoon through the pan, it's keeping apart, which is what we want. Then we're going to add the spinach, and at this point it looks like complete and utter madness that we're adding a ridiculous amount of spinach, but as we all know, spinach wilts down quite successfully, and like we didn't need to see the lentils absorbing the stock, we don't need to see the spinach wilting particularly, so I'm just going to speed through this. I quite like using spinach. I think it's a good way to get lots of iron into your diet. And one of my subscribers actually said to me, I think it was Sue, who said that she uses frozen spinach, and I don't think I ever have really. So I might give that a try next time. But anyway, here we are. It's all going down, all of the spinach is wilting, and we are coming towards the end of the dish, and that is looking quite lovely. So we're just going to go over and serve it all up now. And here we are, all finished. This really is one of our favourite dishes. We have it quite a lot. Altogether, that plate of food that you see there is 566 calories. That's 288 calories for the dal, which is half of the recipe, and the salmon fillet, which was 128 grams, is 278 calories. I'm serving it here with a lemon wedge, and if you just give it a squeeze of fresh lemon over it just before serving, it really adds something to the dish. I hope you enjoy it. Well, thank you so much for watching. I've left the ingredients down below. If you do give it a go, let me know in the comments. It's always lovely to hear from people. Obviously, as you can probably tell, I'm not a professional cook. I'm just an over-enthusiastic home cook who has decided to inflict her recipes and shopping hauls onto the world. So I hope that's not too bad for the rest of you to watch. I'm really enjoying doing it. I needed a hobby, and this is a fantastic hobby. Cheryl from What's for Tea gave me the final push, advised me that it would be a great thing to do, and she was absolutely right. So thank you everybody for watching. I've got a food haul coming up next, and I hope you enjoy that too. Anyway, take care. Thanks again. Bye bye.